Our military will come in and wipe out your regime, and we'll take your oil and enrich our country. If you went to war in Venezuela, we get all the oil and all the gas, and it makes us rich. And we could honestly just steal it.
Venezuela sends oil to Israel for the first time in years following capture of President Maduro. Now, I want to add a brief caveat. Now, once that oil is sold, do they get to decide where it goes? No. Trump gets to decide where it goes, and he told everyone that he was doing this to get cheap oil and gas for the United States. Turns out, it's all going to Israel. You all remember when U.S. warships were off the coast of Venezuela, U.S. troops were amassing in the region, and it looked really like we were about to get a major war. There were some people who were cheerleading that war, and they were saying, not only should the U.S. go in, not only should we have full-scale, Vietnam, conventional military versus guerrilla warfare conflict against the Venezuelans and whoever else decided to join alongside them, Colombians maybe as well. Not only that, but, they were saying that Americans were going to get rich. Americans were going to get cheap energy. So they were saying, maybe you don't like the idea of another war, but look, we're going to get cheap energy. One of those individuals was Nick Fuentes. You may remember him saying stuff like this.
A war that would be good for us is a war where we actually get stuff and would make us rich. Like a war that would make us rich is to go to war in Venezuela. And a lot of people are criticizing me. They're like, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. They have a lot of oil. We should fucking take it. We're the biggest country ever. We're the biggest and best country ever. They have all this oil and we're playing games. We're going to let this guy say, oh, you don't get our oil. Says fucking who? We will come in and we will kill all of you. Our military will come in and wipe out your regime, and we'll take your oil and enrich our country. If you went to war in Venezuela, we get all the oil and all the gas, and it makes us rich. And we could honestly just steal it. We are in a great power competition with China and Russia for the alignment of middle powers, for the alignment of...
Only problem with that is I love this thinking. We're in a war with Russia and China for the middle powers. Yeah, except Russia and China aren't bombing and deposing governments left and right to secure and wield influence and cooperation with these middle powers. They're doing it through good relations, trade, win-win cooperation, BRICS, SCO, all these sorts of things.
Resource-rich countries, and we're in a battle with Russia and China over supply chains and the resources that fuel the supply chains. Specifically things like energy, rare earths, minerals, and then the shipping routes that transit those raw materials. Who cares if Venezuela is run by some corrupt, petty tyrant? Just take their shit. Get as...
Okay, I think you get the idea.
As many countries on our side of the ledger so that we can take their shit. I actually probably favor regime change in Venezuela. I actually think it would be beneficial if we had a pro-American regime in Venezuela. Probably would be good for us because of the resources they have. And we also want to keep, in my opinion, South America on our...
Okay, so steal their oil, kill the people, we'll get rich. That's basically the thinking there. Now, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I understand that Fuentes is like a Sephardic name. I understand he's got a very questionable and very vague sort of ethnic background. So I don't want to say that he is being a good goy and, spewing all this propaganda and talking points on behalf of the Israelis and the U.S. and the Zionists and whatnot. I say Abuelita Fuentes. That's, I think, the best way. It's kind of a vague Sephardic-coded title for Fuentes. But I really don't know if he is top goy or not because I don't know his ethnic background. I don't think any of us do, But anyways, apparently, if he was being top goy and he really believed this stuff that Americans are going to get so rich and such cheap energy after we go and do something to Venezuela, he seemed to have been wrong. Shocking, right? Venezuela sends oil to Israel for the first time in years following capture of President Maduro. Now, I want to add a brief caveat, very important caveat to this story, because this is actually not true. Okay? It is true that Venezuelan oil is going to Israel. That is true. But the way it's getting there is a little bit different. And actually, it just proves my whole argument that war against Venezuela or kidnapping Maduro was ludicrous and insane. Venezuela is shipping its first crude cargo to Israel since 2020, marking a sharp shift in oil flows following Nicolas Maduro's capture. Recent sales have gone to India, Spain, and US, now Israel. That's actually not true. What is true is that the oil was sold to the United States. It was sold to the United States, under the threat of, the barrel of a gun, and the United States then has the oil. The United States bought it, they have the oil, and they can decide to send it to Nepal, Malaysia, Djibouti, Israel, whoever they want. The Venezuelans have no control over that once they sell the oil. Same could be said if they sold oil to China, and China then said, okay, we're going to sell oil to Israel, right? They'd have no say over the oil that they already sold to China going to Israel, right? Obviously, China wasn't doing that. The U.S. is now doing that. But the problem here is they want to put the blame on the Venezuelan government. The blame is not to be put on the Venezuelan government. Do not put the blame on them. The blame is to be put on the U.S. government and actually an oil company, which is handpicked by Trump, who gave him a lot in the form of campaign contributions. Venezuela Analysis, which is, state-allied media in Venezuela, said, this is terrible, but deliberately misrepresented. Right now, U.S.-approved intermediaries, Vitol and Trafigura oil companies, lifted Venezuelan crude and then resell it to whoever they decide. So these are some of the people that stole the Venezuelan oil. So it's not accurate to say that Venezuela is shipping crude to the Zionist entity, but it is a consequence of the U.S. taking control at gunpoint of Venezuelan oil exports. Someone said, genuinely asking, why are they allowed to do this now but not before? They responded, before Venezuela had control of its oil industry and decided who to sell to, there was very little room for maneuver because of sanctions, of course, so it sold to intermediaries. Since January, the Trump administration at gunpoint is controlling Venezuelan exports. As expected, the Venezuelan government dismissed the Bloomberg report as fake. The headline is indeed false. Venezuela did not ship crude to Israel. In fact, right now, under U.S. coercion, it's the Trump-anointed intermediaries that take Venezuelan crude and resell it. So, again, we have more fake news here. This actually, they're trying to put the blame on Venezuela and say Venezuela, via their own, oil cargo ships, are sending oil directly to Israel. Why are they doing that? Two reasons why they're doing it. Number one, to create lack of morale, to demoralize the Venezuelans and create chaos in Venezuela, make them think that their government sold out to Israel. Number two, because Trump doesn't want to take the blame, because he told everyone that we're going to get so much oil and we're going to be so rich and we're going to have such cheap gas, just like Nick Fuentes did in those clips. Oh, we're going to be rich. We're going to get rich. We're going to get the oil. Okay, but one problem with that. After Iraq, did we get a bunch of cheap oil? No. After Afghanistan, did we get a bunch of cheap oil? No. Afghanistan doesn't even produce oil, really. Syria? No. Oil exports in Syria and Iraq have been exactly the same pre-war, post-war. In Syria, they've gone down a little bit post-war. In Iraq, they've gone up a little bit post-war. Iraq controls their oil for the most part now. We didn't get Iraqi oil. We didn't get Syrian oil. We took state-run enterprise and we privatized it and sold it off to a behemoth multinational finance capital firms. But we didn't actually industrialize anything. Do you honestly believe that if America cannot industrialize America, Trump cannot industrialize the United States, that we are somehow going to develop and industrialize the oil sector in Iraq, in the deserts of Iraq, or in the deserts of Syria, or in Caracas? Are we really that stupid? So no, we are not getting cheap oil. We are getting some oil by stealing it. In some cases, we're buying it, yes. And, it's worth noting that the Venezuelan government still has majority control of their oil. The U.S. wanted to get rid of that. They failed. They wanted to get rid of Chavismo and put Maria Corina Machado in. They failed. Venezuela is still a Chavismo government. Diosdado Cabello, Delcy Rodriguez, Jorge Rodriguez are still in charge. As for the oil, Venezuela and all of their joint projects, they still have majority control of all of the projects, all of the collaborative efforts and whatnot. There were collaborative efforts before Maduro was taken with Chevron, and there are collaborative efforts which are probably going to be expanded now. The big $500 million oil sale that was done with already extracted oil, Venezuela got $300 million of that. They got 60% of the sale. Now, once that oil is sold, do they get to decide where it goes? No. Trump gets to decide where it goes, and he told everyone that he was doing this to get cheap oil and gas for the United States. Turns out, it's all going to Israel.
To this Fuentes guy, South Latin America does not belong to USA. With love, from Brazil.
Exactly. But it's just stupidity. I mean, it's either Top Goy or it's Agent or it's Fed Fuentes. I mean, Abuelito Fuentes, he wears many hats, right? But the lie that he pushed that we're going to get rich, no, we're not going to get rich. Trump's going to get the oil. They failed at regime change, in effect. They failed to take full control of the oil fields and oil projects. And the bits of oil they are getting now, they're having to buy. And the bits of oil they are getting, they're just sending to Israel. So who's getting rich? Who's getting cheap oil? Not us. We risked American lives yet again, to go and steal oil in effect, and it's going to Israel. Nothing new. Nothing new under the sun. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.